Okay, so what I have here is a simple blank WPF application. It was just file new. And so my first step to embedding Reveal into my application is I need to add a Nougat package. So I'm going to go manage Nougat packages on nougat.org. I'm going to browse for Reveal. Oh, already done it. .stk. I'm going to find my WPF trial, which everyone watching this can get right now because it's on Nougat. And really the longest part of this demo is actually installing the Nougat package, which is quite funny. But what's going to happen is, of course, it's going to find all its dependencies, accept the license. It's going to install all the requirements, all the dependencies, everything that's needed to run the Reveal embedded SDK in your application. So that's all done. We're installed. I'm going to open up my main window here. Let's just do a build. I always do a build when I add a Nougat package. It's just habit. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my toolbox and I'm going to see what I have. Oh, look, here's a Reveal SDK controlled. I'm just going to click and drag into my view here. And of course, I'm going to reset my layout because no one wants all that mumbo jumbo in there. So we have a Reveal view. So I'm going to give this a name because I'm going to be manipulating this in code behind. Let's go to the code behind. I personally always like to do things in the loaded event in WPF just to make sure all my elements have been initialized. And now I can say, you know, rv.dashboard equals new dashboard. Okay, let my Visual Studio come back to me. There we go. And let's run this and see what we have.
Wow, really?
Yeah. That's it. So here it is. Here's Reveal, and now I can start creating dashboards. Like, okay, I'm going to edit this dashboard, my dashboard, right? The problem is we don't have any data sources, right? I mean, we have an API to do this. I'm not going to spend the time to create the data source and all this, but you know, we have an API for you to define your data sources, where to find the data, you start adding things. So instead, what I want to do is I want to load an existing dashboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder here, because this is where I'm going to put all my dashboards, right?
And in our workflow for embedded, that's what we recommend, that the business creates a bunch of dashboard templates and dashboards, and they're just there. So then what's happening is based on the user's login, it's their data. Like they have access to certain data, certain backend. So the workflow to actually get to the dashboards is really about loading existing dashboards.
Right. So now what I'm going to do is I need a dashboard. And so what Jason was just showing is that, hey, I'm in the Reveal app. Hold on. I'm going to launch the WPF app, actually. Jason was showing the web-based Reveal app. Well, this is the WPF-based Reveal app. And say, for example, hey, I like this marketing dashboard. I want to embed this in my application. So I'm actually going to export this dashboard. I'm just going to export it locally here. We'll save that. I'll close that out. And then I'm going to drag it. Actually, let me open this folder, right? I'm just going to drag it from a desktop right into my dashboard folder. And let's add it to the project. So I'm going to include this in my project. We want to make sure we set, because this is a file, this is content, and we want to copy if newer, right? So, okay, so now we have our marketing dashboard. It's an R- file. And I want to load this file into my dashboard when the app starts. Okay, well, let's start by creating a file path. We have to find this. And one thing I have to do is I got to get rid of that shapes. And you'll see why in a minute. Actually, let's get rid of all those. Because we're going to say path, right? And it's not drawing, it's system.io, .combine. And then we want our environment, .current directory, and then the location or the name of the marketing dashboard, which is going to be in a dashboards folder. And whoop, got to spell that right. And it's what, marketing.r-?
Yep.
Right to you. Okay. And so now I have this file path of where my dashboard is, and I'm just going to pass that file path into the dashboard constructor there. And now I'm going to run the application. And if I did everything right, which I did, here's the app running. This is the exact same dashboard that is on the web that was shown in my WPF Reveal app. And we have all the functionality. I can start editing this just like Jason showed earlier. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm coming here. Right, same exact experience, dragging this off, putting in budgets, whatever. I can cancel any changes, let's discard. All that thing, all those features that Jason just covered is built right in. You get it. You're filtering, right? And what's really cool is because this is an SDK, let's do something like this. Actually, I want to put this side by side. Okay, because you can do this in WPF. Not a lot of people know this, but let's say, for example, I don't want to allow export to PDF, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna come over here, export. Oh, PDF isn't there. Well, you know what? PowerPoint doesn't make sense to me either. So let's go ahead and we'll say show export to PowerPoint false. Okay, we'll go back. Oh, look, I can't export to PowerPoint anymore. Actually, you know what? I don't want that menu at all. Like, don't even show the menu at all. And boom, the menu's gone. So you have this very rich API to control just about everything in this view that you need to control. Don't want to see the filters, right? Show filters, false. Filters are gone, right? So we expose an API. We try to make it make sense for you to where you can control the way the app behaves in your own embedded application. And that's it. That's how easy it is. Like, so yeah, it's 2 lines if you're loading the existing one if you're creating a new one. That's it. That's all I
got. Where can we find information if I want to get started? Do we have docs?
We do have docs. So if you go to help.reveal.bi, help.revealbi.io, this is our documentation landing site. We have our user docs, and if you're a developer, you want to click on these developer docs, and then this is where you're going to want to start looking. Like, here's the desktop SDK. Yeah, how do you load dashboards? How do you export dashboards or visualization, in-memory data support, replacing data sources, dashboard linking? Like, we show you how to do all these things with our SDK. And of course, you want to go to revealbi.io and download the SDK here as well. You want to go ahead and click on that, fill this out. This is going to install the SDK locally, and you're going to get all the samples that Jason just showed earlier in Visual Studio. When you open those up, the WPF, the web, the WinForms, you'll get a whole package of content right on your machine when you go download this SDK.
That's pretty slick. And I wanted to highlight one thing you just showed there. There was the change data source.
Oh, yep.
So yeah, when we the way that I said in this workflow of I'm building out templates, and so what might happen is you're using a Microsoft Excel file with a schema. So let's say that you want to give someone the ability to create a bunch of dashboards, but you don't want to give them access to the actual data. So you could export the schema to Excel, and they're just creating the dashboards with Excel. So they save that R- file, and it's thinking it needs an Excel database, but then in your application code, you're going to say, no, swap it out with the SQL Server or swap it out with the actual Salesforce URL, and then that will then log into that server. So that ends up being something that's kind of interesting in the way we handled that, which I thought was pretty forward thinking. And I think the big thing I want to highlight here is if you're thinking about, why would I use this versus Power BI, or why don't I use Looker or other ones? And we're going to talk about this in the next webinar. They don't have an API. Like, I was looking at Looker the other day, and they're like, oh, embedded API, and you can change the color of your dashboard. You can't edit it, and it's just a URL embedded as an iframe in your app, right? And they don't even have a WPF or Windows Forms rich client, which I could stick into anything, right? We even have a customer that's using Java, and they're embedding our web SDK into their Java app, but they have an API, and I think that's the big difference, is the fact that when you have an API, the whole world opens up to you from a developer perspective, what you can do.
Oh yeah, super powerful. And you can do all kinds of, like, in my own time, I'm prototyping, extending this SDK with my own SDK on top of it, and it's beautiful. It's all code. Like, I could do anything. It's awesome.